many things that were happening at this time in music history that are just naturally so connected to the classical way of scoring a horror film. Like the jump scares, like
Right, right.
these sounds are so inherent in a lot of these extended technique explorations that composers were doing at this time. Anyway.
Hilda, how are you?
Hey, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. Congratulations on Haunting in Venice. The film is fantastic. I think it's the perfect genre blended mix of a murder mystery and a haunted house movie. It's so much fun. What were some of the inspirations you looked for while crafting the music of this film?
Well, I think my biggest inspiration was to dive into the music history of this time, and to look at what composers, the questions that composers were asking themselves around the pre and the post-war era, the abandonment of melody and the old structures that they were experiencing as the world was rebuilt after the wars. And I thought that was, of course, as a composer, those were the questions that were so interesting to me, and I think also so relevant to the journey that the Poirot is going through in this film. And we spent an unusually long time with Poirot also, compared to some of the other stories of hers, and we really get to kind of experience his insecurities in a maybe deeper way than we've seen before, and I just thought that these questions that he was having about his identity and his future and what he and his beliefs, were so connected to experiencing the war and processing what happened to him during the war, and I just thought it was, all these questions were so audible
Right.
in the history of music at this time, so I was really diving deep into those questions.
Now, did you look at the previous two movies for inspiration, or approach this from a whole new angle?
No, I really approached it just from this film in particular, because that was one of his main points when we started working, is that this film was a complete standalone film, and it was supposed to be completely different from the other films, and so I saw the other films, of course, but we were very or he was very clear about wanting the score to be very different, and he wanted it to be much smaller and claustrophobic and more atonal and more experimental in nature of the, as an experimental of the time,
Sure.
So I kind of deliberately didn't really dive so deep into the other two films, kind of deliberately, in order to not be influenced by them.
Right, right. Now, can you talk about incorporating the horror element into the film while staying true to the world of Agatha Christie?
Yeah. Well, I guess to me, musically, because there were so many things that were happening at this time in music history that are just naturally so connected to the classical way of scoring a horror film, like the jump scares, like
Right, right.
these sounds are so inherent in a lot of these extended technique explorations that composers were doing at this time anyway. So it was really fun to just kind of really work in a classical way of both the time and the genre. So it really unfolded very naturally, like how the sound world just for me, it just fit right into like a glove,
Right.
and it also luckily fit very well into the sound world of the house, and the sounds that the house is making, and that we hear from the weather, and all these, the sound is so present in the film, and we get invited in the dialogue so often to listen and really tune in. She tells us repeatedly to listen to what's happening. So I think the audience's ears are already quite perked into the listening position, you know. So that was quite fun to work into.
Absolutely. Now, is it difficult to tie in murder mystery tension with horror tension? Is it bridging those things together through music?
Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of parallels between the you know the mystery, horror films. I think often come with a sense of mystery or something otherworldly, you know, just in the nature of that's in kind of in the nature of the genre, I think, as well, because it's and I think that, yeah, and I think that's something that was so beautiful about this film was the questions of the presence of the otherworldly, the supernatural aspect and the natural, and finding, you know, that the mystery is not just who done it, but also what's real and what's not real, and I think that these elements fit really well together, I think, and it weaves well into all these the thought process, which is what makes murder mystery so wonderful, is that you're always, obviously, as an audience, you're always trying to solve the riddle. You know, you're always constantly trying to try to solve the puzzle itself. You know, and I think the horror element fits really well with that, I think. Yeah.
Now, the last question I have for you is: you worked on the first Joker movie. How was your approach with the sequel different, given that it's a musical now?
Well, I think the process was the big difference for me in the process is that we already have a very the sound world of the first film. We said it, you know, in the first film, like this. I think the sound world that is in that film is so incredibly connected to that character, and it's such a big part of the whole film. So I think the big difference is that we basically we knew his sound going into this film, and then so it made the process a little bit different, you know, not to be seeking that as you're working on it, but working into a world that exists, and working from there into something new, like the songs and all of these things. So that was quite fun.
Well, I'm excited. Thank you for your time. Congratulations on Haunting in Venice. The film is fantastic, and you are amazing. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Great to meet you.